Hi everybody, and welcome back to a very exciting Barbie video. I guess this is your first time. I'm not going to welcome you back to something you've never seen before. Welcome to a very exciting Barbie video. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Dolly stuff for the holiday season. Happy Dolla-days to anyone who's watching. I am very excited about this video. This is one that I have been sort of thinking about doing for some time, and it felt like a good excuse to use the holiday season to do this. So I have a scheme to do something very fun and nerdy for Barbie and doll fans. Well, it's for Barbie fans. Let's be honest, this is about Barbie. And I was sort of thinking about, all of the things that made the holiday season and Christmas time really magical to me as a child. And dolls, of course, are a huge, part of the fantasizing for me. And I think dolls are, a very, big part of the holidays for most doll collectors. But I want this one to feel specifically nostalgic, if I can, hold myself to that sort of ambitious standard. I was thinking on, Barbie dolls of the 90s, and when you opened a box, you had the catalog, the sort of accordion shape advertisement that showed you all of the other licensed products that you could purchase for Barbie or purchase for yourself that were Barbie flavored. So you would have, advertisements for bedding and for telephones and the sockets that go over your light switches on the wall, and all of those things I thought were so amazing because you could be immersed in a world of Barbie as a child. And we had a lot of sort of aggressive and very effective advertising from Barbie in the 60s, but we didn't have those accordion advertisements. And so I was thinking maybe if I could sort of recreate a montage, a highlights reel, using some of my favorite products and my favorite pieces from my collection, what a accordion sort of advertisement of the 60s might have felt like, right? We had the booklet for the fashions, and God knows we had a lot for the doll. But I want this video to be about all of the other things maybe that you go to bed with, sugar plum fairy dreams the night before, and conjure all of the things that, might be under the Christmas tree the next morning beside just Barbie. Because we all want Barbie. We're all there for the doll. If we could, wish for other magical things, what might those be? So this is my long-winded introduction to a video that I hope you enjoy half as much as I think I'm going to, because this is nerdy and fun. So let's get started. So I'm using my very handy-dandy, trusty, reliable best friend, the ultimate barbell, for all of your Barbie licensed products, needs and wishes and dreams. This is a very helpful resource. This is the Alva Christensen and Laurel Schwing encyclopedia of Barbie licensed products, and sometimes I will flip through this just for fun. After a long day, or maybe with a cup of coffee in the morning, and I want to do something that's not on my phone, I'll sit with a book, and this is one that I reach for a lot just to rifle through and enjoy. And this is going to be my companion in our little journey through our fake fabricated DIY Barbie accordion advertisement that comes with your brand new doll. And I want to get started with one of my very favorites. I love this piece. This is Barbie's guitar. This is from 1963. This is what this says. I'm going to check the barbell and make sure. 1963 is Barbie's guitar, and it is spelled G-E-T-A-R. I think that's so cute and so funny. This is one piece that I was aware of for some time. I treated myself to it recently, maybe last year. And I pined for this for some time, because when I found this thing, I just came out of my skin. This feels like maybe the ultimate Christmas present under the tree toy. If you're already a fan of Barbie, maybe at that time you're enrolled in the Barbie fan club, you're getting the magazine, you're playing Barbie with friends, you have a whole sort of universe built around this new favorite character in your life, and now she comes with more ways to interact with her. Not only is this silly and ridiculous and so cute, it's tiny, by the way. This is made for someone much smaller than I am, but it's also a music box, and I'm not gonna piss it off more than I already do. I'll show you, this actually does still work, but I won't go crazy. Unfortunately, I'm missing 2 of the 4 strings on the guitar, but this is often a well-loved piece because it's such a fun toy. I mean, I think it's a fun toy. So I want to see if we can hear. I think I go this way. Okay. I'm not going to piss it off. I'm done. Okay. I'm always afraid of busting it. I don't want to break it, but I love this thing. I can imagine running around the house. I was really into like cowboy boots as a child, and I can imagine running around the house in cowboy boots with this, going nuts. You know, playing fantasy as Elvis or something with this would have been such a thrill. So I would love to hear, I mean, if there's anybody watching this that recognizes these pieces or maybe had some of these in their own childhood, I would love to hear as we go along, like, what you recognize, if you had these things, memories of them. Like, this is the magic of Christmas, right? So if you're willing to, I would love to do that together. Tell me what you remember about this if you do. It's one of my very favorite pieces. And Mattel actually made several guitars. They were not exclusively Barbie. I've made some notes here in advance so that I can, you know, flip to the right thing and not waste too much time. The Barbie tells me that this is in fact 63, and it was produced as a Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, Porky Pig, and sort of like a vaguely floral variation. I see a floral variation and then some sort of, you know, Warner Brothers favorites. But Barbie, I think, really is sort of the standout in this collection. And it's labeled a hard to find piece. It's not a super rare one, but it's not one that shows up terribly often. And usually the little shoulder strap is torn, or maybe the mechanism that, you know, plays music doesn't work anymore. It's often missing all of its strings, or maybe it's broken. But this one, it's in, you know, well-loved good shape, and I am so proud of this piece. It feels like, you know, the scene from Toy Story 2? There's a scene from Toy Story 2 that was very formative to me as a child, and I'm realizing in lifetime this might have been the singular moment that informed why I'm making this video. The scene in Toy Story 2 where Woody discovers that he is actually a cultural phenomenon. He's in the museum curator, the weird, you know, the man, the chicken man? The weird chicken man abducts Woody, and Woody steps on a light switch and illuminates this enormous collection that shows him as a cardboard cutout and as, you know, the snake in the boot, sort of Jack in the Box, and all sorts of little trinkets that he didn't realize he was famous. And now there's this whole world of merchandise that you can buy because you're a Woody fan. And this guitar, there's something about the guitar that really, like, makes me feel like accessing that little point for Barbie. I love the cultural impact that this character, this fake plastic woman, has and has had on the world. My love of Barbie is, you know, multitudinous and revered. I love Barbie, but sometimes for contentious reasons. And this piece is such an indicator of her being solid in culture from a very early point in her, you know, existing. I love to fangirl about Barbie, and I love to sort of ruminate on her place in pop culture. She's impossible to ignore. And anyway, we have a lot of other pieces that I need to get into, so I'll leave the guitar alone. I'm done. I like my stuff, whatever. That's a hot take. Let's move on to the next piece. The next piece that I want to talk about is another one that collectors love. I love this piece, very exciting, is Barbie's Alarm Clock. This is another early 60s piece. This is 64, so I guess this is more like mid-60s. And there are several variations of this. This one is known as the no-handle variation. There's another one that has a little sort of metal handle that sits on top, and it came in a couple of colors. There's the pink one, there's a clear one actually, which I don't see depicted. There's another blue one, and I've never wound this to find out if it works, but it does sort of, I don't know, maybe that's just it tings a little bit if you jostle it around, but it's got a really cute depiction of her from the right sort of era. You can tell that this was, you know, newly produced for, you know, immediate consumption in the year 64, rather than something that was produced earlier and then sort of distributed later on. This shows Barbie's portrait with her swirl ponytail bangs. So at the same time that the swirl ponytail was being manufactured. A really, really fun sort of point in Barbie's history. It's quite small. Before I bought this, I thought it would be a little bit bigger, but these are for children, so I suppose that makes sense. But it's a piece that I just love. I love the sort of scalloped shape of the acrylic, and I love her portrait. She's got really nice sort of dramatic eye makeup in this one, at least more of an accentuated sort of wing shape. And then there's a really pretty sort of like mint, almost jade colored arms to tell the time. Just a really pretty little moment for Barbie. So Again, if you were sort of immersing yourself in having a bedroom of Barbie pieces and, you know, coming home from school and having a Barbie bedroom, naturally you would have to have an alarm clock. So you can see here, maybe, I don't know if the lighting's going to be aggressive, but on the bottom of this page, I've got 3 of those variations of the clock. And on the other page, it actually shows what that looks like with the handle. So it's the same, I believe it's the same one. I've never seen one. I don't imagine that's a bigger one, but maybe it is and I need, you know, a more substantive size alarm clock. These are described as being in blue, light pink, dark pink, and then the clear white. This variation is known to exist in blue, gray, light pink, dark pink, and clear white. And actually, I have seen the gray one before. I'm not sure why they made a gray one. These are children's clocks for Barbie, who is, you know, now known to be very pink, but ultimately colorful. And I think gray is sort of an interesting choice. Okay, so the next one I have is like a partial credit example. I actually got a really sweet gift from one of our customers that is the CD version of the vinyl record Barbie Sings, and this is so cool to me. I have to confess, I tragically have actually never heard this. I am inclined to analog forms of media generally, and at this current time in my life, I don't possess a CD player. Instead, I actually have a turntable and I have a tape deck. There's a tape deck in my car and a turntable at my house, so I can listen to vinyls, but I actually don't have the vinyl of this. I have the CD version. But this shows, I think it's 3 songs, 3 records that Barbie sings to you. So for the first time, you get to listen to Barbie's voice. This is before Barbie would be a talking doll, and I think this would also maybe be a sort of specific time capsule of aspirational women in the early mid-60s. I think this is 61. This is 61. So even earlier, I mean, like, Barbie would talk for the first time as a doll in 67 or 8, and so, you know, in the scheme of a child's life, that's quite a few years in between, and I imagine the way that she sounded and her cadence and delivery communicated something different than sort of like the British invasion, you know, shopping, you know, tea Barbie that we know, you know, Prom, whatever. In the book here, you can see it is 3 records, and it's something that's, I think, pretty commonplace. So there's actually not a good reason for me to not possess this. I'm sure I could find this easily. But on the bottom of this page here, you can see Barbie Sings, the record, and the packaging and the sort of leaflet that it came with. It's a really fun sort of point for Barbie in, I think, becoming really relatable and becoming really real to kids, creating a world that not only you can sort of insulate yourself in, but also sort of develop a kind of friendship with this character. And that's very exciting. I think that's so cool and such a you know, very well done little bit for you know, Barbie history. My next piece is actually not vintage, so bear with me, but it sort of feels like it is. This is one of my favorite pieces in my whole collection. This is a little vinyl backpack from 1996. This is a reproduction, and I'll read the tag inside. I forget who made this, but I am obsessed with this little portrait of her. First of all, the saturation of these colors, like, her hair is almost green. I think that's spectacular. She looks crazy. The eyes are like this beautiful, just deep turquoise, and a lip that's almost purple. Really cute. I love the scale of this, like her head blown up at this size in a display of like Barbie memorabilia is so exciting. It makes me feel like electric to see. But this is a 90s piece that I think is actually a fairly well done, you know, sort of reproduction. This is by the Honey Fashions Company in New York, and yeah, it's 96. So I don't think that's vintage. God help us if that's vintage. If it's vintage, I officially feel old. But this is one of my very favorite pieces. It's not a very practical backpack. It doesn't expand very large, so what you could put in here is sort of limited, but I don't use it for a backpack. I sort of just use it as like a billboard in my own display cabinet. One of my favorite pieces. It's so fun, and maybe if I felt brave enough to, you know, risk causing any sort of damage to this, I would use this for, like, I don't know, granola bars and like a Polaroid camera at like a doll show. If I was going to a doll show just to go have fun, this would be a great little piece to like show off at the show and have other people see and enjoy and whatever. But I love it so much that I don't ever take it out. Maybe that's a bad reason. Maybe I should take it out more. Anyway, love this piece. So cute. Okay, so next I want to show and talk about one of my favorite categories. It should come as no surprise that I am a very big nerd about cosmetics, and Barbie has a long history of grooming and cosmetics products. So I want to show off some of my favorites, starting with the shower mitt. So this is a sort of, I don't know, this example's a little, it's got a little water damage. It's been well loved, but it hasn't been used, interestingly. This is a powdered soap with a mitt, like a terry cloth mitt that's designed to be lathered up in the shower. And there were so many sort of like, I think of as kind of random cosmetic pieces like this at this time. This again is, I think, early 61 is sort of what this is. Yeah, 61. This was one of many pieces in a collection. There was a powder mitt, which is sort of a practice that's kind of out of fashion now, but in place of lotion, maybe after a shower, or maybe after lotion, so that you weren't chafing, you would powder all over, and there was a powder mitt to go with it. There was also a bubble bath collection. It was sort of a box like this. Rather than having this mitt, you would have 3 stacks of different soaps or different like fragrances. I wish that there was more of a like evident strong smell just from these sealed envelopes. It's a little spicy, it's sweet, it's powdery, but it's almost got like, it almost has a spiced quality. But the powder looks crazy. I do have all 10 packages in here, so I know it's never been used. But if you can see there, the powder is sort of collecting in clumps. It looks like it's maybe yellowing a little bit, perhaps a little discolored. I think this might be, I don't know, after this much time, probably not a great idea to use, but I am tempted all the time. I'm tempted all the time. I want to see what this feels like. I want to know how this smells. I will refrain. You know, I don't need to, but God, it's so tempting. And then you've got this really cute, again, sort of like yellowed, discolored little mitt that is made for hands that are smaller than mine. And you know, such a great idea for like almost a stocking stuffer for kids for Christmas. You know, it's a way to maybe entice children that don't want to go take a shower or a bath to do so. You know, Barbie suddenly makes that more appealing. If you've been out and running around in the mud and having fun and playing with, you know, Barbie and, you know, sophisticated lady out in the mud, then you can also clean up with a shower, and maybe you and Barbie take a shower together. Anyway, I love this piece. I have been trying to practice restraint. I've been going a little, you know, I've been a little indulgent for, you know, gifts for myself this year for Barbie. And so when cosmetics come up, I have a really hard time saying no because I want all of them. But this is such a fun one. And I have actually seen this recently in better shape. I thought this was harder to find than I think it actually is. It is unusual, but it's not an incredibly rare piece. Anyway, you can find these without the water damage. So if you want to go start your own cosmetics collection, you can probably find, actually, I even saw one in plastic still, like mint. So you could do a mint in box collection of this, I think with like moderate ease. Like you wouldn't be waiting your whole life to make that collection. But speaking of cosmetics, I also wanted to show you some of my other very favorites. These are the bubble bath and cologne bottles for Barbie. They are for you, but they're Barbie branded. And these were a part of a larger set. I believe these were also sold individually. It's not clear to me. I think these were sold both separately and in a set. So I have a very exciting piece to accompany these. This is the Barbie Beauty Kit case. And this was the same year as these little bottles. They're all 61. It says so both on my case and in my Barbie, so I trust it. And it appears as though this was actually the case that these, in their own cardboard boxes, came inside of. I have seen, although I can't find the photo now, I can't track it down, I've seen this case with like makeup cosmetics in it before, but I don't think that that's how this set came. In fact, in this book, in my Barbie, there is a little clipping from an advertisement that shows the bubble bath and the cologne in addition to the lotion and bubbling milk bath, which I do not have. That all four of those would have fit in here really nicely. And they would have had their own little boxes that actually showed Barbie the doll in a fashion on the outside of the box, which I think is really great marketing. The labels here have the classic Barbie silhouette face, but the cardboard boxes that these came in to keep them from, you know, clanking around inside of the case had actual doll fashions on them. I don't know if you'll be able to see these very well, but on this page you can see that the box is beside those bottles there and sort of the fashions that they're kind of advertising. You know, they're not really overtly advertising them, but they're reminding you what you can buy for Barbie at every turn. And I love that. I think that's hilarious. It's, you know, never a free moment from Barbie advertising. And as sort of like a fun, you know, sort of self-inflating fun fact about this, I'm very, very grateful and very proud to say that I actually was the lucky recipient of this set, including the Barbie Pretty Up Vanity brush and mirror from the one and only Mr. Bill Greening. These came from Bill's personal collection, and I am very, very grateful that I was able to win these at the Theriault auction. So I am looking forward to maybe completing this set. A little bit for me, maybe a little bit for Bill, who I'm sure already has it. But I'm so enamored with cosmetics, and, you know, as someone who did cosmetics and beauty in the industry for a decade, it's a fixture in my life. I have a very deep, special fondness for cosmetics. So these someday will have boxes, and maybe someday they'll have their four, you know, sisters, their two sisters for their companions in this case. This is such a fun bit that actually came with the beauty kit, but it is a separate sort of product. These are the Pretty Up Vanity set that are in here somewhere, and they actually came with a hair comb that I do not have, but on it, the reason I thought I had to have these was because Wedding Day, the fashion is one of my very favorites in the whole world. It's so beautiful, and on the mirror and the brush you can see a little illustration a la Barbie advertisement, you know, booklet that shows that dress, and it's on the brush as well. Now, interestingly, this is actually mislabeled, so I'm not sure when these were produced versus when they were manufactured, but you can see really small, maybe you can't see, I'll tell you. In the corner there, it actually says Bride's Dream, which is the name of the fashion that followed this dress. This dress is 972 Wedding Day, but Bride's Dream was the dress that came after, when they decided to, you know, switch out for Barbie's, you know, wedding dress. And I just think that's a fun little touch, you know, in sort of a silly, maybe, you know, production error way. And whoever, you know, middlemen were involved in licensed products by Mattel, that this is, you know, advertising one dress and calling it another. But I think the depiction of it is so beautiful, and I will never get over that dress. I just think it's so pretty. The like billowing tiers of lace and the flocking and the glitter, it's so romantic. And it's pink, you know, and I won't harass you on the other side of the camera with the reflective side of this mirror, but it's a good piece of glass. It's not warped and it's not rippled, it's not plastic. I mean, it's a really nice mirror. It's a functional mirror, you know. And the brush I maybe wouldn't practically use because it's a little crazy. It sounds like it would just be really painful, but they're very light, they're very fragile, so I'm constantly afraid of breaking these with their teeny tiny delicate little necks. But anyway, very proud of these. These three pieces came from Bill Greening's collection, so in the unlikely chance that Bill ever sees this, Bill, thank you. I am so proud to have anything from your collection. Oh, as I'm actively trying to break them. They're some of my favorites. So anyway, these are very fun. What kind of Christmas morning would it be without Barbie's car? You gotta have Barbie's car for Christmas morning. If you don't already have the car, you're going to bed dreaming of Barbie's car. This is her very first Austin Healey in her signature orange color. This is a staple for any doll collector doing vintage Barbie. It's so beautiful. I love that, first of all, I love that it's not pink. You maybe would expect it to be, but this is an era of Barbie that still had her doing like really practical things in sort of practical garments in practical colors. And she, you know, certainly sort of melded into the color pink shortly thereafter. But in 1962, when this was released, you still had a very sort of like girl about town fashion model character, and I think this car really shows that. Love that it's a woman's car. It's Barbie's car, it's not Ken's, and she drives and she's going places and she's autonomous and she's in control. It's so beautiful as like a cultural point, but also like the car is pretty. It's a really sort of like lightweight, kind of pliable plastic. It's not super hard plastic. The seats are a different, harder plastic that often shatter. The windshield is often missing and all of the bumpers and steering wheel and whatever. You know, when you're a kid and you have a car and you're taking a sophisticated lady out from the mud and into the car, you're, you know, banging into trees and the fence and the dog. So this is always in sort of well-loved shape. But another one that's not terribly hard to find, and it's also not necessarily very expensive. However, there are some harder to find and even more expensive variations. There's an incredibly rare cream variation that is Be Still My Heart. It's so beautiful. And you can see it here on this page on the bottom in box. That's a very sort of fun advertisement that shows a slightly sun-bleached version of that sort of car. It's a really beautiful sort of buttercream and the seats are white. It's so chic. It's so elegant. Like that, I think, is what like she would be arriving to a movie premiere in, wearing like Enchanted Evening. That is, oh, there aren't words. It's so beautiful. And that's not the only one. This car actually would come in 2 other colors as well. I've never seen these, but we have the Austin Healey in red, and we also have the Austin Healey in the incredibly rare pink variation down there. Again, I've only ever seen the orange in person, but it would be such a thrill and so exciting to see the other ones, even just like in a museum. Like that would be so fun. Barbie would go on to have countless cars, but the fact that her first one has variations is so exciting to me. The pink is really gorgeous. There are other cars, incredibly. There's a car for Skipper who's meant to be like tan or something. Skipper, I think, has her own boat. I think there's a boat for Skipper. There's a hot rod for Barbie and Ken. There's quite a bit for vehicles. And then, you know, we go into, you know, oh, there's the plane. It's Barbie and Ken's sports plane. That is so cool, you guys. I'll show you that. Yeah, and and the boat is Skipper's. Anyway, Barbie and Ken can fly a plane. You know, if they tackle everything on the ground, then they suddenly get to take to the skies and take over there. Really cute. I imagine that one would have been, again, like an airplane for Christmas morning is like so fantastical and so, you know, idyllic. But what's incredible to me is Skipper has a car and a speedboat for Skipper. You know, I again, another one I've never seen, but I'm certain Barbie fits in this. It's just funny to me that it's meant for Skipper. That 10-year-old has no business, you know, land or sea, driving anything. Very cute nonetheless, and the packaging is so gorgeous. Like I imagine store shelves lined with this merchandise, and it just looks, in my brain, it looks like a storybook. I'm sure it wasn't necessarily that, so leave me to my fantasy. But, you know, in my fantasy, Christmas morning couldn't handle me. I'd be coming in ravenous. This one's cool. This one is so cool. I love this next piece. This is 1968 Mattelophone for Barbie. And I don't have words for this one. Again, this is one that I discovered existed a couple years ago and lost my mind. And it's a hard one to find kind of at all, but it's difficult to find with all of its pieces or working or not faded. I mean, this is sort of a finicky, sort of fragile collector piece, and I am so excited to show this to you. I'm very proud of this piece. This is a sort of functional telephone, not like that you could call someone on, but again, playing into speaking to and with Barbie. This came with a slot on the side for you to put in little like single size record discs into this machine, and it would function as a record player. And then I don't think that the cord of this really functioned, but like in the fantasy, in, you know, the imagination, you hear Barbie sort of reverberate, you know, out of the machine through the phone, and then you can sort of imagine that you're speaking with Barbie. And in 68, she's talking about what she's wearing to the prom, getting tea with Stacy, what her name is, where she's going. And this, I've never heard these, but this is what I'm imagining based on Talking Barbie the doll. And it had, I want to say five. It had 5 little records, you can see on the bottom of this page here, that would, be interchangeable. So I imagine there were several conversations on each side of each record that would give you like a lot of playtime. It's such a genius idea and such a really fun play on words. I'm obsessed with the play on words that is Mattelophone. It's so good. It's funny, it sticks, it communicates exactly what it is, brilliant marketing, and then, of course, you get, like, the crowning jewel that is, like, the Barbie logo on the top. And it's, again, not functional the way that a real phone is, but it rings. Can you even deal with that? That is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Like, I think that's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Hello, fashion police? It's so good. And again, if I could find this with the records, that alone would be like really exciting, but I'm confident this doesn't work, and so I'm not sure what you'd have to do, like who you have to sell your soul to find a like functioning one of these with the records. That would be so, I could die happy. That'd be so cool. Anyway, I love this piece. This is something that I think under your Christmas tree, or first thing in the morning of your birthday, something that's really fantastical and feels dreamy and magical. That would be a truly dream come true sort of piece for me. Last but not least, thank you for coming on this journey with me. I have one that is very special to me and close to my heart. I want to finish off with, again, sort of a quintessential piece for Christmas morning. This is the very first 1961 Barbie Queen of the Prom board game. And this is one that I am just so excited to have. A little backstory that like makes this special. This is in some way kind of the reason that I work here. So I've relayed this story, I'm sure, before. I don't know how, publicly on film or on video, but I sort of discovered this doll shop as a customer. The place that I work now, I was looking for places to go shop for dolls. I was on the internet thinking, God, there has to be somewhere that just exclusively deals in dolls. I grew, tired maybe. I felt fatigue at scanning antique shops and looking for dolls. And I thought, there's got to be somewhere that only, I want to go shopping, and I want to go shopping for only dolls. That's all I want to see. Does that even exist anymore? And it turns out, in my own city, there was this beautiful little pink doll shop that I had to come see. And so I scuttled over, and on the outside of the door was a notice that said, by appointment, please call. And I was outside, and I said, well, I don't know if you're here, but I am, and I would just love to come in if you're there and if you're free. And a few moments later, a very pregnant woman answered the door and waddled up and said hello, and she proceeded to give me a tour of the entire shop, and I was just mesmerized. For anyone that hasn't been here before, I think the first time really is enchanting. Talk about Christmas morning. I mean, we celebrate Christmas year-round with our front room, and all the other, surrounding cases and rooms of the shop are all dolls. So when you look around, all around you are Raggedy Ann's and Didy Baby, and you've got storybook dolls, and you've got Build Lily, and you've got Jameau's. I mean, like this shop is like brimming over with the most beautiful things you've ever seen. And to get sort of a personalized tour was a great thrill. And I told her, I said, I'm here because I'm a huge fan of 60s Barbie. I collect vintage Barbie. And after our little rendezvous through the shop, she very generously and very sweetly offered me a parting gift of Barbie's first board game, and just wanted to thank me for coming into the shop, and I never got over that. I thought that was so tremendous and so spectacular and very sweet and needless of her, but just generous and kind. And it actually has all of its pieces. It's a beautiful, complete set, and this would go on to be reproduced later. So this is the vintage original, and actually there were a couple variations of the Queen of the Prom game, and then they would sort of revamp that again, I think in the late 80s or early 90s. There's been several iterations of like prom queen games. But this one, aside from being beautiful and silly and fun, you know, your whole objective is to like be crowned queen of the prom and avoid going with Poindexter. It also feels special and important and cherished to me because I remember that moment so dearly and so specially. And now, sort of full circle, we've got, once again, a very pregnant woman that is waddling around and helping us drive this ship, and I now just very gratefully get to be a part of that ship. So, without getting emotional, this is one of my favorite pieces. And I think it would be, you know, such a tragic thing missed if it weren't a part of my, you know, highlight list for, you know, what are you imagining for Christmas morning? And, you know, I think like lots of people, I am one of the many that has sort of a complicated relationship to the idea of Christmas, but ultimately it's my favorite time of year. It's so beautiful, and it's the one point in the year, it seems, that people everywhere sort of lean into the maybe a little, you know, fantasy or delusion that it's the season of giving, and that it's the season of kindness and of empathy and patience and joy and giving grace to one another and being generous more than usual. And, you know, I think it's maybe a shame that we wait for a particular time of year to do that, but the fact that we, you know, across cultures, across continents, and across eons have found the winter season to be difficult. It's chilly, it's cold, it's bleak. The color palette is sort of, you know, it's all saturation is sucked from the world and it becomes sort of gray. And time immemorial has encouraged people to really find beauty in and jubilation and celebration and community and love and friendship during sort of the most difficult time of the year. So I think it's my favorite maybe for that reason. I love the spirit of Christmas, even if it's something that we're sort of buying into and convincing ourselves of being true. So perhaps take that with you if you are, you know, enjoying this holiday season and feeling a little stuck, if you're feeling the seasonal depression or whatever it is. You're not alone, if that's consoling at all. But also, you know, I think dolls are a way that have brought us together and continue to do so. I'm so grateful to be in any position to be talking about Barbie Christmas presents on the internet. I'm choosing to really buy into the magic this year. I'm choosing to really lean into what makes Christmas magical and mysterious and gorgeous, and I hope that you do too. If you need the reminder, here it is. Go, you know, make some hot cocoa and put on fuzzy slippers and call a friend and play with your dolls and maybe treat yourself to something pink and sparkly. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Happy holidays, happy doll-a-days, Merry Christmas from our little doll shop to your home. Thank you. Bye.